The world is not short of advice for those who are struggling to get over their exes. The problem is, so much of it is extremely sensible and, in its own way, utterly ineffective. We're often told to move on, to forget, to find distractions. But heartbreak isn't some simple administrative malfunction where a few handy pointers will swiftly return a sufferer to the norm. It is a wholesale and long-term loss of command over one's emotional constitution. For this, perhaps the most appropriate response is a limitless acknowledgement of the crisis's scale, unbounded compassion for oneself, and a heavy emphasis on the utter reasonableness of madness. So, for those who, 10 months or even 15 years after breakup, still find few things more compelling to think about than their long-lost love, here are a few slightly less conventional pieces of advice. First, don't expect to get over this anytime soon. Severe damage is done by well-meaning friends who, out of great kindness, frame heartbreak as something we must all inevitably get over with time. But what if there were no shoulds in this area? What if we allowed the pain to last just as long as it needs to, and not a minute less? This might be 3 months, 10 years, or even the rest of one's life, but in any case, it's likely considerably longer than our sensible, married friends seem to think it should last. Let's recategorize this as a chronic illness rather than a passing cold. What if we didn't compound our sorrows by setting deadlines for them, and then castigating ourselves for trespassing those imaginary boundaries? What if we assumed, very darkly for a moment, that we might never quite get over this? Paradoxically, accepting this could be the first step toward genuine peace. Second, build the loss into your identity. Instead of relegating it to some embarrassing corner of our biographies, what if we were to put the loss front and center? We could build it squarely into our sense of self and our presentation to others. Henceforth, we might say that we aren't just someone born in a certain country in a certain year with a specific job and a set of hobbies. We are also, just as importantly, someone who lost an extraordinary person 15 years ago. To know us well must be to understand, honor, and never forget the resulting, still open incision in our souls. Third, give madness free rein. Of course, it's not entirely mature to be found sobbing in bed mid-afternoon, holding the stuffed camel they gave you 7 years ago from shop at the Cairo airport. But let's not compound our losses with an unfair attachment to dignity. So, write that very long letter, but try not to send it outlining all the reasons why they must regret this. Then, a bit later, write that other letter saying how much you adore them. Go even further. Write the letter you hope they're one day going to send you, filled with phrases like, "I'm so deeply sorry, I see now. Finally, how right you were. You are the only person who can understand me. And I belong to you and to no other." You can even practice the wedding speech you'd give after a few bumps in the road. In this space, there are no rules. Fourth, don't merely hate them. All the kind people around you have naturally tried to convince you that your ex is no good. And yes, they did behave abysmally at times, especially at the end. But in the privacy of your own mind, allow yourself to celebrate their gorgeousness. Idealize them until even you can sense that you've reached a limit to what others might bluntly call reality. Adore them with infinite imagination until, eventually, it slowly starts to occur to you that you've lost an often quite annoying and laterally rather selfish human being, not a celestial visitor with penetrating intelligence and beautiful hands. Finally, break the wise rules. Of course, you should never call them. Naturally, you shouldn't beg them to return. It's entirely necessary to block their number. But there are grave dangers in trying to be so grown up that one never allows oneself to mature. There are certain blows to the ego from which one can only ever recover through unguarded humiliation. So make yourself abject and silly. Try everything and watch it fail. Observe yourself descending into a mockery of your former, coherent self. Sink as deep as the pain commands. Live the impossibility. Don't just intellectually assume it, and then suffer when your emotions refuse to follow suit. You must properly experience why things can't be until the lesson sinks in authentically rather than just logically. You have to tie yourself back to health. No one can make you wise one moment ahead of time or in your place. The best way to recover sanity is to allow madness to have its full, unfettered, horrific, and necessary run. And then, one day, something remarkable happens. It won't be a sudden clap of thunder, but a quiet dawn. After you have honored the pain, integrated the loss, and exhausted the madness, you will find that the space they once occupied in your heart has not vanished, but transformed. It becomes a source of profound empathy, a testament to your capacity to love deeply, and a quiet strength you never knew you possessed. You won't be the person you were before the loss, nor will you be the person who was lost in the grief. You will be someone new, deeper, wiser, and more beautifully whole for having been broken. The scars will remain, not as a sign of damage, but as a map of your journey back to yourself, a journey that ultimately leads to a peace more resilient and authentic than any you had known before. If this journey of healing and self-discovery resonates with you, please consider subscribing to our channel. We're dedicated to exploring the complexities of the human heart and mind, and we'd love for you to be a part of our community. Click the subscribe button and join us for more.